What's up, everybody?
What are you doing?
What's
What's
up, everybody? How
up?
y'all doing? Man, I'm so glad to be back with my beautiful wife
I can't see the comments, but
here. Okay, let's see. Hey,
hey.
what's up? Robin Clark tuning in. Hey, man, I'm excited to be here, babe. How about you? Ooh, I see your moves, man. Come on, I can get jiggy with that.
Excited to be
I know,
here.
right? And we all snowed in. Oh, down here in Louisiana, we got tons of snow, inches on inches. We're
Yay.
not used to this, but we are loving it, right?
We love it.
We loving it. And
Snowed in.
yeah, so we get to get booed up because we stuck in the house and we can't go anywhere.
We booed up anyway.
Right, and we don't have those jobs that are demanding us to get out the house. So we in.
Uh-oh.
Whoa, we are in. And I'm happy about that. What about you, baby?
I'm good. I'm
You
good.
good?
How's
So
everybody's Monday going?
yeah. Where y'all watching from? Let us know where you're watching from. Where are you watching from? Tag your friends, your spouses, your mates. Maybe you're not married. Tag your
I don't
fiancés
need this. Why you keep going?
and share the live.
Yep. Like and
Share,
share.
like, and share the live. Go ahead, smash the like button, smash the share button, and let's get some marriage on our timeline today. We're talking about cold,
I know.
freezing. I'm telling you, it is
Yes. It's too
freezing.
cold to even go like play in the snow.
I know. We got to do like 5 minute increments. Go out a few minutes, come back in.
Yeah.
Fireplace like this.
I let them play outside for like 5 minutes and you gotta come back in.
Right.
At this point, they're scared of frostbite, so
I
I
know.
don't even want to go outside.
What did they ask you about frostbite earlier?
They said, "Are we gonna get frostbite if we go
I said,
outside?
well, frostbite. Can you die from
Can
frostbite?
you die from frostbite?"
I
Yeah.
was like, bruh.
I guess you can if it's infected.
Yeah.
If it gets
If
infected.
it gets pretty, severe, I guess.
Yeah.
So, we got a good topic today.
Yeah.
Great topic today. We've been talking about safe
Safe
place.
place.
So, we want to continue that on. We're in no rush. We're in no rush. Listen, we snowed in. Some of us are quarantined.
Right.
But I
We're
realized we
not
just
quarantined.
no, we're not quarantined. But I realized you just gotta slow down sometimes. Take
Yeah.
your time and make the moves that God put on your heart. You know what I'm saying?
And with the
Sometimes
Safe Place series, God put that on our heart, and we're gonna talk about it until we're done, and until
right. As a matter of fact, we're rocking safe place.
Safe Place.
I am her safe place.
I am His safe place.
That's what I'm talking about, baby. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I am your safe place.
Yeah.
But again, thank you guys for tuning in. For you that are your first time here. My words getting twisted up. Bear with me. uh, Welcome to Yoke with Purpose, where marriage is celebrated, cultivated, and motivated.
Where God is revealed through unity, intimacy, and financial freedom.
Where we can be raw, unfiltered, and uplifting. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Yes.
We're your host. I'm DeAndre.
And I'm Kim.
And you are watching Yoked with Purpose,
Yes.
where we talk about all things concerning marriage,
Relationships.
Relationships goes.
It goes deep.
Broad, yeah. But as we were saying, we've been talking about this Safe Place series, and if you have not decided yet that you are ready to become a safe place, maybe you didn't know that there was a such thing.
Right.
But we're here to remind you there is a such thing as being a safe place, and it's important that we be a safe place, become a safe
Mhm.
place for our spouses, and that will, even in our topic today, it will open up intimacy
Right.
in all categories.
And the best part about this Safe Place series is even though we're talking about marriage and being his and her safe place, what I'm realizing too is every relationship that we have, even if you're not married, if it's friendships, dating relationships, any of those, there's still intimacy that's non-physical
Yeah.
intimacy. And so being a safe place for even a best friend or an associate or somebody who you're mentoring or discipling, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So the safe place thing, it goes so deep. And there's so many layers to it because
Bunch of layers.
because you can be a safe place for anyone, even your mother and father. As we get older, our parents get older.
We want to be safe.
We want to
places
be
for them.
safe places for them as well. So it's bigger than just marriage. It's kind of like just a relational thing
I want to be.
altogether.
I want to be a safe place for my brothers,
Right.
and my sisters.
Right.
You know
We
what I'm
want to
saying?
be able to have people be, confident enough in us to come to us and tell us things. And that's part of being a safe place.
Yoke with purpose.
Yeah.
We want this right here, yoke with purpose, where you are hanging out with us right now, to be a safe place.
Right.
Where you're able to talk and be transparent, and open up, maybe in the comment section, or maybe you have to inbox us.
Right.
And let us know some stuff going on. Email us at yokewithpurpose.com.
Mm-hmm.
No, yokewithpurpose
at gmail.com.
at gmail.com. Yeah, shoot us an email. I would like to. We talked about this before. I would like to hear some success stories.
Right.
If you have a success story, something, and it doesn't have to be huge, just a win situation that happened in your marriage.
Right.
Shoot us an inbox and let us know what it is. We'd like to maybe feature it on our page.
It could be something as small as, I remember at one point we used to have trouble being in the kitchen together.
Oh,
if
Lord.
I was cooking or he was cooking, it was hard for us to be in the same spot in the kitchen at the same time because we both had ways that we were doing stuff that we were accustomed to. So with that being said, there were times where that would be an issue.
Mhm.
But now it's more so like it's not really an issue anymore. So
Right.
even though it doesn't sound like a huge win, but for us it is,
It's
because
a win.
we both like being in the kitchen.
Right.
I don't necessarily love cooking as much as he does, but
I don't get to cook as much as she does.
right. And so it's
funny.
still a win because we can, coexist in the same spot without an issue.
Right.
So
let's dive into this intimacy topic today.
Yes. So we like to always get down to what the words mean. So intimacy defined is physical or emotional closeness marked by warm friendship developed through long association.
Right. So it's physical or emotional. Now, typically when somebody talks about intimacy, they rush to physical part. Physical. Intimacy.
Right.
We're talking about is sex and making love. But it's way more than it's more than just physical. Actually, it's physical. It says here, physical or emotional. And you will probably spend more time in the emotional intimacy than you will in physical intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
So just leaning into it, intimacy usually denotes mutual vulnerability, openness, and sharing closeness. So when we talk about intimacy, we're basically talking about closeness.
Right.
Closeness. I mean, it's that simple. And I think if you start to look at that word closeness a little bit more than saying intimacy, then it could help shift your mind from the physical to the emotional.
So just thinking that it's about that physical relationship and realize that you can have intimacy with anybody.
But you can't have intimacy with anything.
Right. Exactly.
Because it has to be two
people.
So I can't two beings. So I can't even just have intimacy with you.
Right.
It has to be mutual.
Exactly.
We both have to kind of be in agreement.
In agreement that we desire intimacy.
Right. So this scripture, Amos 3:3, says, can two people walk together without agreeing on the direction?
You can walk together, but if you can't agree on the direction, then we're going to be all over the place.
It's going to be all over the place. There's no I mean, there's really no direction there.
Right.
Maybe if you're driving, can you picture this? If you're driving and we haven't agreed on the direction, then what does that cause? Chaos.
Chaos.
We in the car arguing.
We're gonna be lost.
Like the twins used to say, they arguing. When they were small, they arguing.
It'd be arguing.
But you're gonna be, in chaos. And then when you're in chaos, you know what? You can't think straight.
Right.
So even if you had a decent idea, you can't think because I'm over here in your ear and we just had not agreed on the direction. So can two people walk together unless they agree?
No.
No, you really can't. You really won't make it anywhere. You may go from here to there, but that's about it. We're talking about distance. In marriage, we know it's long time.
And so when you're talking about agreeing in marriage, you have to agree on the direction and the method on how you're going to get to that place. So if you're going to go in the same direction, you kind of have to have a way of how you're going to get to that place.
Right. So in a marriage, both spouses have to desire intimacy with one another.
Right.
And agree on the direction on how to get there. So we both need to agree on intimacy. And talking about intimacy, maybe you hadn't had this conversation with your spouses before. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like a lot of conversations like this type of topic, people, it's hard to talk about.
This one, money, a lot of stuff.
What are some other stuff that are hard to talk about, guys? Any comments? What are some other type of conversations that are hard to talk about with your spouse?
Expectations, like unmet expectations.
Yeah, unmet expectations. True.
Those are tough sometimes. I know money, I think, is the biggest one.
Yeah. Money, intimacy.
Yeah.
Because those two will break up a home.
Because most of the times you're not trying to hurt somebody's feelings that you love. A lot of times you want to be able to share how you feel, but you don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
Right.
So when it comes down to if I have an expectation and somebody's not meeting it, it's tough for me to tell you.
Now you don't know whether you should tell me or let me keep falling.
Right.
And it sounds crazy to say, well, I just let you keep falling. It's not really, you don't want them to keep falling, but you want to keep the peace. And I think that's what we may use.
Right.
I want to keep the peace.
I just want to keep the peace.
And so you don't say nothing.
But I'm a peacekeeper. So a lot of times I just kind of be like, okay, maybe we'll get it right at some point.
Right.
But I realize that the more that we mature in our marriage, that no, it's just best to talk it out. So whatever those conversations are, those hard conversations, it's better to just share.
It is.
Yeah.
So you got to ask yourself the question, do you both want the same thing?
Right.
What does intimacy look like for you? What does the intimacy look like for your spouse? Because when we're talking about agreement, we got to look at what the goal is. What do we want our goal? What does our goal look like? And once you figure out what it looks like, then you can talk about how we're going to get there.
Exactly.
And when you think about how you're going to get there, both parties might have different ideas. Hey, let's do it this way. Hey, let's do it this way. And you can't be right or wrong necessarily. It's more about just...
Yeah, but you can't decide on a direction without clarity. If there's no clarity there of the direction anyway, then you can't get there. So you can't come to a mutual agreement if there's no clarity.
Right. Okay, so true intimacy requires trust.
Right.
The more you trust, the closer you will allow someone to get to you. Intimacy, we're talking about closeness.
Right.
Closeness, you got to have trust.
Got to.
You got to have trust. The more that you trust, the closer you can get.
Right.
And I feel like I'm getting closer and closer. Get some sugar in a minute.
But that's because why? Usually when we don't trust someone, we have a wall up.
Yep.
And so when that wall is up, typically we don't want to share ourselves. We don't want to share our vulnerabilities. We don't want to share our thoughts, our concerns, because we don't trust what that person's going to do with them.
Right.
And so typically we keep all of that to ourselves, even if it means sometimes the demise of the marriage. Sometimes if it means the demise of our health, because when we hold stuff in, what happens? We embody that. We start walking with that thing and it starts hurting us in other ways that we don't notice until, sometimes it manifests into something else.
Right.
And then we're just like, oh, the doctor be like, well, it's stress. or it's something like that. But typically what it does is it breeds discontentment, unforgiveness. You start feeling like you can't forgive a person for because you can't tell them something,
Right.
which they really don't even know, but you're holding it in. And so with that, a lot comes with that. So
right. And so you said that when there's no vulnerability, there's a wall up.
Yeah.
And so if there's a wall, then you can imagine there's only so close I can get.
Right.
Because you got this wall in between us. And I'm trying to get close.
Right.
And so we got to find out a way to break that wall down. So it starts with God, the creator of men and women, the creator of relationships. That's where it starts.
Right.
We realized that, my wife and I both realized that, man, really, the way I can love you better is I got to get my vertical.
Yeah.
I got to get my vertical right so I can get my horizontal straight. And when my vertical relationship is off, my horizontal relationship is typically always off.
Right.
Literally. It's not going to go the opposite way. I have to get my vertical relationship right because I only know how to be the husband that I need to be based off of who God says I need to be.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
an example. If something's off with, let's say your washing machine is broken, a lot of times you're not going to call the refrigerator repairman to get the washer fixed.
True.
You're going to call the manufacturer and say, hey, can you send somebody out here so you can fix the washing machine? So if you're having issues with relationships, the best person to go to, especially if you're having a relationship within your marriage, is the manufacturer of marriage.
Right.
And that's God. You go back to the person who created, basically our creator.
Right.
So that's the person that you go to end up, getting this thing right.
And it only makes sense. That only makes sense. All right. Let's look at Genesis chapter 2 and verse 18. And it says, then the Lord said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I will make a helper who is just right for him.
Right.
So God had done so much up at this point. And he said everything was good. Everything he saw that it was good. He did this. The sun, it was good. The moon, it was good. He laid the water, land, vegetation, it was good. And made man, it was good. Right. He was good. But then all of a sudden he says something's not good.
Right.
He says not good for man to be alone. I will make a helper. So I'm looking at the idea that the manufacturer, right, again, God, our manufacturer, our creator, has said, this is good, but this is not good.
Right.
Meaning he knows what's best for us. So we got to take into account what he's saying. And if he's saying it's not good for man to be alone, I will not only make a helper, but I will make one who is just right.
Right.
Mwah. Mwah. I'll make
right.
one just right. You ever get something just right? You put that pinch of salt in there. Grandma put that little pinch of salt, throw a little dash, and throw a little dash over her shoulder. Just right. Like my wife, for me, is just right. You're just right.
Salt's not good for you, though, so it's not.
Hey, you gotta put a little pinch to get it just right. And it's funny how that little pinch to make a difference.
Right.
But God knows what we need because he created us.
Right.
He made a helper who is just right. We're talking about God knew that it was only so much closeness that Adam was going to be able to do with these animals. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? I believe God knew. He was like, look, man, I got these animals, all this stuff. It's fire. Everything is booming. But, man, I gotta turn it up.
Right.
I got to turn it up a notch. And I'm going to create this helper that's just right. Okay, so verse 21 and 22, that's when he puts Adam to sleep and takes a rib and then creates woman. And it was funny because when I looked at this, I was like, why did he put him? You God, you don't have to put him to sleep.
Right.
But to me, what I got was, well, you just like when you put a baby to sleep. Number one, he's a new creation, so God just created him. When you have a newborn, you put the newborn to sleep so you can do what? Get some work done.
Right.
And you, because the baby gonna be all up in the way. So he didn't want Adam in the mix, and he didn't want Adam to even think he had something to do with nothing.
And not only that, but he didn't have him um, name him or name her or anything until later. And so it's kind of like, basically God was in control of making sure that everything that she needed to be, that he was in control of that.
Wow.
So that's amazing to
That's
me.
good.
As far as a woman, being a woman and understanding that he basically put y'all to sleep to create us. You know what I'm saying? So that's beautiful.
It is, because like I said, he left us out the deal. Which the point that I want to drive home is it was his idea.
Right.
His idea to bring a woman into the mix, because he obviously knew this would be better for us.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then he created the woman, and then he brought the woman to him. And I could just see, like I was talking about with the baby, you put him to sleep, you go do your thing, you cook, and then when they wake up, you still you bring them the food. Here you go.
Right. You're serving.
You serving them. Mm-hmm. So God was serving, and this is more in that I ain't really got a chance to dive in on yet. But I'm gonna go back and dive in on that serving part right there. But where are we in the notes?
So it's like basically Adam didn't even know that he desired a woman.
Right.
He didn't even have a desire. He was okay with naming the animals and, the birds and all of this, and he was content. He didn't even know that he needed it or he desired it. So it's kind of like now we're in a position in life where now we know. Mm-hmm. Now y'all know that y'all desire. So it's kind of like when you give a baby something other than milk. It's like now, how like they'll say, okay, you have this newborn baby. Don't give them no table food.
Don't give them
table food until it's time. Because why? You give a baby table food before it's time, then now are they going to push away their milk? Before it's time? Because now, they have a desire for they have a desire for the food now. But I didn't even know that I needed this. You know what I'm saying? Right. So now I know that I need, it's something that I have a different taste for it now. So now, men know, okay, yeah, I desire a companion. Right. I desire, to have a woman in my life.
Right.
But before,
you was just content where you were.
Right.
Where you was. But also, what if, kind of like that same scenario, using the baby, if you're trying to give a baby something, and sometimes it's hard to introduce babies to stuff. They're so used to what they're used to that they figure, hey, maybe they don't realize that they need this. And sometimes even in our marriages, we get stuck. We feel like, hey, we do things this way. This is good this way. Mm-hmm. And you don't realize that was for a season. That where you are is good.
Right.
Because even talking about a baby and moving them to table food, the milk is good.
It's good to them.
It's good for a season, but then you have to mature and take it to the next step. You got to get some mashed potatoes in.
But it's funny because I think about how Adam, even with the fall, he just said, "This woman you gave me." She still didn't have a name. Like he still hadn't even put a name to her. So that shows you even more how it was still out of his comfort zone. He still didn't have a name for her. All he knew was it was this woman. You know what I'm saying? So with that, it's like, he still hadn't even understood the closeness that was supposed to be there just yet. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
So the ideal is, you don't, as men, we do not understand our women just automatically.
Right.
We just don't know. We're talking about intimacy and we're talking about closeness. So what we want to happen is, I want to get to understand you. Mm-hmm. I want to get to know you, because God created you. I didn't.
Right.
So it's understandable when it's the closeness is not just like boom, we just automatically close. Mm-hmm. I mean, God created us to become one.
Yeah.
To become one. So even in verses 24 and 25, they become, it says, leave and cleave, and you become one
One
flesh.
flesh.
One flesh, close. The ideal of that is when you become one, that's ultimate closeness.
Right.
That's just like now when you see this hand, you know it's two. But if you see it together so much, it'll start to look like one. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And so that's what we want. We want that closeness, that walking together in agreement. You know what I'm saying?
And not
So
only that, but they were one flesh, and then they were naked and unashamed,
yes,
and they had that closeness. They had that unashamed closeness, and that's huge because when you think about being ashamed in any sense of the word, what do you normally do when you're ashamed? You isolate yourself
you isolate
and you
yourself.
go into a ball and you kind of keep yourself away from people, and
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to get close to people because people might know what you've been through or
Right.
what you've done. And so what do we do when we're ashamed? We hide ourselves, we cover everything.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? If you have a baby and you gain some weight, what do we normally do until we start losing that baby fat, that baby weight? We cover it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So that's typically what happens is when we're ashamed of something or we don't want it to be seen, we don't want that closeness with anybody.
And that actually happened, but even before then, it's one flesh, and they were naked,
Hmm.
which says to me, one and naked goes together.
Right.
Being one and being naked
I
goes
bet
together.
it do.
Hey, I'm just saying, babe. I'm just saying, we're trying to get closer than close and closer than most. But it says one flesh, they were naked. So naked, of course, is more than just
Yeah,
clothes off naked.
yeah.
It's me. I'm open. I'm
I'm free.
transparent. I'm free. I'm withholding nothing. I'm hiding
Mhm.
nothing.
Right.
I'm all yours. What you see is what you get.
Right.
Nothing you can't get from me. That's the way we want to be with our spouses. That's the kind of intimacy that we want to have, that we want to create in our homes.
Right.
So that's closeness. True intimacy comes from obedience.
Now, why does true intimacy come from obedience? Because when we look at the story, so
Right after that, I mean, literally, what we just got through talking about, the one flesh, they were naked, unashamed, ultimate closeness, boom, bam, boom, beam.
right.
Next chapter, the serpent comes in to tempt. Look how quick he's trying to break up a marriage.
Right.
The attack, man, look.
It was so.
I mean, it was like boom. Soon as y'all got together, you're
And you're
close,
one
you're
flesh.
one flesh. You're naked.
You're in the garden just frolicking.
Right. Just doing your thing.
Just enjoying each other, and boom.
Probably emotionally naked and physically naked.
Right.
I like the physical.
You like emotional too.
But I like,
What's wrong, baby? What's wrong?
baby, I like the physical. Can we talk about the sex?
Not right now.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about that in a minute.
But I want to break this down real quick.
Okay.
So back before God decided that Adam needed a helper, right? God gave Adam some instructions. So he told him what? Not to eat of the tree
Right.
of good and evil, the knowledge of good and evil. He gave him some instructions. Period.
Right. That was it. Instruction came.
Then
He was moving. He wasn't eating from no tree. He gave him the woman.
right.
They were one flesh. They were naked. And they were unashamed.
Right.
And then here we go, fast forward. Serpent comes in, seduces or deceives Eve. And then not only did Eve eat from the tree that God just said don't eat from, but then she fed the husband and he ate. So this was disobedience come in.
Right.
And so now we trying to figure out how we not close. So now Adam probably turned his head up at Eve.
Right.
And she probably looking across his head. Why are you looking at me like that? Or might was vice versa. Eve looking across his head. He probably, what? Why are you looking at me like that?
Exactly.
Now they kind of feeling shame. Now they got to go get fig leaves and tie them up and hide each other, hide themselves, because now something happened right there.
Now I know I'm naked. now I have too much knowledge on what I'm not supposed to be. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like, okay, being naked is freedom. But now that
Freedom,
but
baby.
now that I walked in disobedience and I ate of the tree, now I'm shamed.
Mhm.
So, but I don't even know that that's going to bring shame. I just questioned the instructions that were given to Adam, you know what I'm saying, before I was even here. So when I questioned that and then I ate and then I'm like, here, baby, it's good.
Mm. So it's like, so it's kind of like I wonder, it's like they didn't trust what God told them.
Right.
They didn't trust His words.
Well, they questioned it. They may have trusted it,
They
but
trusted it, but then I guess the serpent got them to question
question.
it,
Yeah.
and
Got me
so they
question
wind
it.
up being disobedient. So what we're saying is the obedience part of true intimacy comes through obedience is because I'm only able to be my best based off of what God tells me,
Right.
based off of His instructions on me being the way I should be, because it's either His will or mine.
Right.
And I know if it's my will, then it's not His will.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's His will, then it's not my will, because He says His ways are not our ways and His thoughts are not our thoughts. He knows what's best for us.
Right.
And so for me to create and aid in our marriage, help create that ultimate closeness, that intimacy that I also desire. I shall say, hey, woo, that I desire, I'm gonna need God.
Right.
I'm gonna need God. And I'm going to have to I'm gonna need Him every day.
Right. Because we were even talking, and when we were talking, I was like, I wonder why God told them that they couldn't eat of the tree. You know what I'm saying? But it's like you can put the tree and make it anything. You can say,
It's a
okay, because
symbol.
he was like, it's just a symbol. And so I can say, okay, well, that's the same as God saying, you know what, I need you to, not go get that car. But the car is just a symbol.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It's not anything with the tree. It's not anything with that per se.
It's not. It's just choosing me over
Yeah.
something that else that you have free will to choose.
Yeah.
And God wants to be chosen first.
Right.
And so when we put things in order, because He's a God of order, God, spouse,
Children.
kids, family, rest of the family,
Mm-hmm.
hold on, kids, then probably church, and this list goes on and on and
Right.
on. But we put things in their right orders, then our lives can be in order.
Right.
So a lot of times our lives are not in order because we got things out of order.
Right.
And I'm honest. I need God.
Right.
I cannot do this on my own. I mess something up.
Exactly.
Even with God, sometimes I veer off and still mess stuff up.
Right.
So I know if I didn't have Him, what I would do.
But let's go back to this part. When they ate, and then, what I'm saying, basically, God cursed everything, cursed the ground, all of that, right? And then they saw each other and they knew each other were naked. You were saying how they saw each other different. You know what I'm saying? And now that causes that lack of intimacy. So now we wonder why in relationships we have to fight so hard to get people to open up
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that, because basically in the garden of the fall, you know what I'm saying? Now they know to put up a wall. Now they know that, now we know that's kind of how we know.
Mm-hmm.
In relationships, we realize now that we have to allow people to get to know us. We got to see if we want to let those people in. We got to do all of these little here and there's before we even allow someone to come close to us. But that's the reason, because now, they see it made it to where man and woman see each other different now.
Right.
And now that was
And
the loss of intimacy that they lost in the garden.
right, and I think that happens with us a lot of the times with when we disobey God. See, like you said, they didn't realize what was necessarily coming
Mm-hmm.
with that disobedience. And there's a lot of times where we disobey God and we don't realize what comes with it.
Right.
And maybe what comes with it is not you getting punched in the face and sent to jail. You know what I'm saying? Your wife didn't leave.
Right.
But you didn't realize that it was going to change your perspective. So when we didn't move when God said move, or we chose this over when God put on our hearts to do this,
Right.
you didn't realize that was going to change your perspective. And it changed your perspective. And when our perspective changed, then that puts up a wall between our spouse, between us
Right.
and our spouse. And it when the wall is up, then it hinders the closeness.
Right.
And that's what we want to get to. So this is the reason it is so important to allow God to restore us. Because if we don't allow God to restore us, then it'll affect our children. Just like we all been affected by Adam. Lord, if I can get my hands on Adam, if I could just get my hands on, I probably would just pray for him now because I know enough.
But the best part about Adam is the fact that all of that brought Jesus. So
Right.
you got to be happy for Adam.
Man, you brought it home.
You got to be okay with Adam at this point.
Yeah. So when we don't rely on God's way, we rely on our own way. And the Bible tells us in Proverbs 14:12, there's a way that seems right to man, but its end is way to death.
Right.
Seems right. I done been through enough life, and sometimes with my intelligence, because I got the IQ of a. Don't. I just got a high IQ. Let's just leave it right there. But with my IQ, I can think of something really good, and I can say, "Man, this is gonna do it. This gonna work." But then I also be scratching my head saying, "Why this didn't create no closeness with my wife?"
Right.
I can't understand. I felt like I done drew a wedge between us, and I was trying to go closer. But it's because God will show me how to draw closer. I have to do it the way He's saying do it.
Right.
Husband loves your wife the way Christ loved the church.
But why is that? Because having an intimate relationship with God first increases the chances of you walking in obedience anyway. So when you have that intimate relationship with God, you're praying and He's the head of your life. That also means that you're probably gonna, at least try to walk in obedience. Walking in obedience is difficult because God does give us free will. We're not getting struck down every time we're not, walking in obedience. So walking in obedience has to be a decision. You know what I'm saying? We have to decide that we're going to walk in obedience. When God tells us to do something, to do it.
Yeah.
No matter what you feel the outcome is going to be, period. So walking in obedience is so important.
Walking in obedience is saying, I'm walking in trust.
Right.
Trust.
I can't see the whole stairway, but I'm going to do what you asked me to do.
And it's hard for me to trust my spouse if I can't trust God.
Right.
I just believe it is. If I can't trust God, the one who created me, the one who would send His Son for me when I was tore up on the floor up.
Right.
If I can't trust this man, how I'm supposed to act like I'm trusting? It's always going to be a crack in the trust, with each other. So having a relationship with God also helps every other area in your life, your marriage included. Having a relationship, there's so many things that we don't get to experience because of the lack of intimacy with God.
Right.
God is not withholding. God will make good on His word. He said He would never leave us nor forsake us. Boom. He done laid it out there. All the promises of God are yea and amen. What's the problem? It's us.
Right.
We're not in the relationship because we said this at the beginning. It has to be two people. How can two walk together unless they agree?
Right. God is already there. He ain't left.
It's a mutual thing.
Right.
So all of the promises that God had for us, that He still got them. But then where are you? Are you mutually trying to open the door to that relationship with God?
Right.
So that you can tap in to all of the stuff that you've been wanting, all of the stuff that you've been desiring, the purpose that God has for our lives.
Right.
Because we all got purpose. And we yoke with purpose. Yeah. All right. So,
as you build your relationship with God, your trust and faith are rewarded with spiritual strength, love, knowledge, and peace. So we have to remember that. I guess all of this just goes back to understanding that first, intimacy with God is the start of anything.
Yep.
So we have to understand that in our relationships, when we're not experiencing that abundant marriage, it first starts with what's going on with each individual person. So each individual person has to understand that we have to go, if we're going to have the abundant marriage, God created marriage, and he created the standards of marriage. And guess what? He wants us, we know that marriage ain't always be good. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to work at it. It just doesn't magically happen.
Why we be trying to do marriage without God?
I don't
and
know.
He the one that created it.
I'm scared of marriage without God. I don't even, I've always said this. I don't know how people are married to unbelievers or people that they're unsure of, like how they move and what they believe. I've never understood it. You know what I'm saying? And I've always said that, you know, to me, that's like a slippery slope. Like, I don't know from day one to day two how you're going to be.
That's unequally yoked.
I don't know. I don't really know what convicts you.
You don't have anything to convict you.
Right.
You don't have any. I mean, your standards are just quote unquote like moral standards.
Right. And so I always think about that. I'm like, so if you don't have that conviction from God and, you know, all of that stuff, it's like, it's how do your flesh is going to lead you every day.
Yeah. Basically,
I have to know that you love me enough to today to lead us to tomorrow,
right,
and the next day and the next day. And that's so that's so shakeable to me. And I just can't get with that.
Yeah.
And so to understand that having intimacy with God first, a relationship with God, is the first step of intimacy in your marriage.
Yeah.
So
it is. That's good. Intimacy, safe place. Intimacy, safe place.
Yeah. Because the thing is there's so much that we want from our spouses in the area of intimacy, right? So much. But at the same time, we're not willing to understand that part of that is that safe place. You know what I'm saying? Like, so in order to create that intimacy, you have to make sure you are a safe place for your spouse. Intimacy should come when you are walking and creating that safe place for your marriage. Intimacy should come easy.
Yep.
It should come easy.
Yeah.
But the best part about that is intimacy with God. When you have that intimate relationship with God, other things should come easy. Loving your wife, talking to your wife the way that your wife deserves to be spoken to, your husband the way he deserves to be spoken to. The things like, you know, trying to outdo how we do each other, you know, treat each other better. That stuff comes easy when you're just like, okay, my relationship with Christ. Because guess what? When you have a relationship with God, you also have access to the Holy Spirit. When you have access to the Holy Spirit will lead you in the ways to be with your spouse.
Teach you. Bring all things to your remembrance.
Right.
So you know,
and
it all goes back. All signs lead back to
you
God.
Can literally be in the middle of telling your spouse off, and the Holy Spirit will be like, you know better. It will quicken you, and it will make you shut your mouth mid-sentence to make you remember. You know what I'm saying? I want to have that remembrance be brought back to me.
Yeah.
So I know that means that my relationship with God is first and foremost when it comes to before I can love you the way that you desire to be loved or the way that you deserve to be loved. So,
and I want you to do that.
Right.
So I mean, you and God need to be you need to be straight, man. You need to go on and get with you, because I need me and you to be straight.
Right.
And, you know, and I need to get me and God got to do our thing, because I know you want us to be straight. So it is what it is.
And I'm not saying, you know, don't be, you know, if your spouse is not a believer and you are, I'm not saying go divorce your spouse. We're not saying that. We're saying just continue to pray for your spouse. Continue, you know, don't
bring God in the mix.
Yeah, don't throw the word in their face and don't try to convict them. Be the word. Just be the light. Be the light in darkness, in dark places. You have to just keep doing that. And, you know, before you know it, you know, they won't be able to deny, especially if both of y'all were unbelievers and then something happened and then you became a believer and they still weren't, you know, they still just didn't believe and they just still didn't want to believe. But then they see changes in you. You're not the same person. You're not walking the same. You're not talking the same. You're not doing things the same. So at some point, you have to be fruit.
Yeah.
You have to be fruit for that person in your marriage that's an unbeliever.
Yeah.
If you're not that fruit,
then they can't eat.
if they don't see the fruits of the spirit, how will they
Not the
even
fruit,
know
they
to
can't
change?
eat.
Right.
So we got to be ready to serve, just like
Exactly.
God served. That's what he came to do. Even though he was God, he served.
Exactly.
Jesus, he served. So that's what we got to be. We got to be servants to our spouses.
Mm-hmm. Talking about the washing of feet.
Yeah, we got to be servants to our spouses.
So,
For real.
so your relationship with Christ and with God is first and foremost when it comes to intimacy in your marriage.
Yes, that's it. That's it. Creating a safe place, intimacy will come.
Yeah.
So, Safe Place series, we're still in it. Next week, we're going to talk about sex.
So this is intimacy part 1. Next week will be intimacy part 2.
Yeah, we're going to talk about sex next week. So, y'all get ready to get your spouse.
But we can't talk about, we realistically can't talk about sex and marriage without first having you understand who created it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And understanding that part of the safe place, you know, the intimacy is relationship with God first.
Right.
So
thank y'all again for tuning in to Yoga Purpose. We are so glad that you guys have decided to come hang out with us again on this Monday. We're always excited and pumped. I'm always a little bit more excited than my wife because I'm just high energy anyway, and I can't explain it, but God just put it in me, so it is what it is.
it's a mess.
Okay. Again, for you first time watchers, thank you for tuning in. Like, share, tag your friends, your spouses, and all that in. Thank you guys for being here. I'm DeAndre.
And I'm Kim.
And you have been watching Yoke with Purpose. So until we see you again next week, guys, go love on your spouse.
Yeah.
Keep creating that safe place in your marriage as we continue this Safe Place series.
Right.
And we will see you next week.
Love y'all. Peace.
Deuces.